Hey, good morning, everyone. I just want to do a quick video, try and make it quick. So I got an email yesterday from a baller. I'm gonna call him a concerned citizen, and I just want to use this as a lesson. I don't need to call out his name, but once in a while when I post videos like the latest one, the Flat Earth Apologetics, and I turn comments off, I can almost guarantee I'm gonna get one email at some point. And so this was the guy. Who spoke up, emails me, finds my email, I guess, through the banner of my channel. And so he went through some effort, writes a really long email, just gibberish, not addressing the main point, just kind of reaffirms all the same points in my video, where I just explain what a person would have to believe if they believe gravity's real, and how gravity does not have an explanation for how the gravitational field for two sets of masses attracting each other will not interfere with another two sets of masses attracting each other. And that interaction and relationship will not be defined. They will not be able to define it, because once they do, the whole thing will fall apart. And so that interaction of gravitational field lines is what you can corner a baller with very easily. And this is why Neil deGrasse Tyson had to say, he doesn't know what gravity is, and it's true, because he doesn't know. If you could explain gravity with mathematics, with a vector field, a tensor field, or whatever, there would be no reason for anybody, much less Neil deGrasse Tyson, to say they don't understand it. It would be just there. It's real. The math to model it is there, and then that's the end of the story. And so, they get triggered, and so this person emails me. First of all, states that he's a Christian, and then so I thought that was kind of interesting. And so right when someone approaches me, or I find out they're Christian and have strong views on the shape of the Earth, I'm more concerned about that aspect, because the shape of the Earth aside, there are certain things that are coming out in Christianity that, like the mark of the beast, that is even more important, and that agenda is like in the mainstream now. It's not even hidden, and it's obvious. And the centralized banking and the evils of that is, again, in the mainstream. It's not difficult. Everybody knows that there's a scam going on now. So the thing that I want to talk about and just reaffirm to people is that a lot of these ballers will come with a cloak of like righteousness, and they'll be like acting as a quote unquote concerned citizen, and they'll be like, I just care about you, I just want to understand what you're thinking, and I just want to help you. I think you're misunderstanding this, and you're confused about this, and all this kind of stuff. And then once you start asking them some questions, not just about gravity, but about central banking, the evils going on in the world, the economy, slavery. I was reading an article last night that Foxconn, which is FOX in numerology, most people know now as 666, and then con, like it's a con. And so Foxconn, at one or maybe multiple sites in China, they installed nets because so many people were committing suicide while on the job. They just couldn't handle it. And then so many people were doing it, enough people that they were like installing nets to like prevent the people. And this is like how doubly evil Foxconn is. 666 con is that if a person wants to kill themselves, that's their own personal decision. Let them. And then so they only come to the rescue, quote unquote rescue, at literally the very last moment, at the last millisecond. So we're dealing with Satanists here. These people are absolutely demonic. They're out of their mind. And then we have this person who emails me, coming cloaked in the righteousness of Christianity. But I ask him, do you have any videos? Are you outspoken about the evils of central banking? And the effects that we see of it, like the suicides at Foxconn, and this public shaming of employees in China. Do you have any thoughts on that? Any commentaries? Like, I just can't come up with an argument, cogent, narrative on that. I don't know anything about banking. So ballers get dumb real quick, and they get smart really quick. So they know about gravity, which Neil deGrasse Tyson can't define. but they don't know about the evils of central banking. No, I mean, that's like, numbers and, the stuff. I'm not into those kind of numbers. I'm more into the gravity type numbers, which is an absolutely ridiculous thing because we're dealing with the most sophisticated, potentially, mathematics that would be out there if it were to exist, which it obviously doesn't. And a balance sheet, which is probably the most simplistic mathematical, thing to create one. It's just adding and subtracting. It's not even multiplication and division. It's just a ledger. That's all it is. A balance sheet, like accounting at its sort of fundamental level, it's basic. And so the scam is now like obvious. And so this is why we can have even more confidence that we're onto something, because it would make no sense for somebody to be very like righteous about the truth in quotes about ball earth and gravity, but not be as courageous to speak of the truth of literally anything else. It's like, of all the other evils that are going on, let's say flat earth was a deception that they're trying to squelch quickly. They're on that, fair enough, intellectually, whatever, but their brain is not allowed to go to these other evils, which are just like I said, mainstream. The financial scam of universities and colleges is mainstream now. I'm sorry to tell you that if you haven't figured that out yet. You now just you know it now because I just told you, and it's obvious. Again, mainstream media is telling us that. And this is Fox News, like FOX 666 News, telling us that, yeah, maybe like college education is kind of a ripoff. You think? It's like, so these ballers are absolutely finished. We got another one. One of the chief sort of deceivers, people like George Nachuk, calls a guy's licensing authority because he apparently he claims that he made some mistake on a lesson on YouTube about like Kepler's law or something. Which is like interplanetary motion. So he's like inquires to this individual's engineering licensing board and starts like nosing or like snooping around. And so these are the kind of demons that we're dealing with. But then if you go up to George and ask him about evils of Freemasonry, central banking, enslavement of the entire world through central banking and all this kind of stuff, you'll get crickets. They'll just be like, I don't know anything about that. That's just financial stuff and all that. It's like the economy. I mean, I don't know. Economy looks good. In my neighborhood. That's the kind of stuff that I get. Literally, people are just like, yeah. I mean, I see job opening signs and stuff in my neighborhood. Everything looks fine. And so it's becoming extremely obvious. Like, it's not funny because we're dealing with very, very serious topics, but it's funny like how ridiculous this is. And so they're going to come cloaked with like righteousness and like the love of learning and truth and all that, but we know that they're lying. And I'm talking about even people on the flat earth side too, that if you can't talk to them about the evils going on in the world, all of them, and there's many of them, there's something else going on. I'm sorry, like there's something else going on. They love their couple hundred, few $1,000 that they're getting from this more than the very obvious fact that there is evil going on around the world that makes no sense. It's not anything that is logical or righteous or anything like that. And to me, like, I know now that God is doing this, but that doesn't mean that we're not allowed or we're not allowed to call it out, and discuss it, because there are certain people who are in this system, who are just taking advantage of other people. So as God's children, or people that think that they're God's children, it's our responsibility to call it out, even though we know that ultimately it's God orchestrating this. And so he wants us to do that. There's many, many examples and verses in the Bible that support that we're supposed to first call out the evil in ourselves with the greatest scrutiny, the most intense filter, the finest grain filter needs to be applied to ourselves, and then God will give us the ability to see the evils in the world and call them out appropriately and with the volume that he wants. And so that's what we're called to do. And so if that's not there, that's a problem. I'm not saying it can never come, but it's a problem, and that's just the beginning. That doesn't mean, just because, Mind of God or Shrek is on videos complaining all the time and calling out evils, that he's like the greatest person to ever live. But no, that's the beginning. That's the absolute, you know that something's wrong if that's not the case. It's like, if you don't call out sin in your own life, and I'm saying this to myself too, if I don't do it first, with great scrutiny, and if people ask me stuff that's kind of about my own life and things that and just be honest about it, and know that I am also guilty of a tremendous amount of sins in my life, that's a problem. There's something else going on, and then they're outside of the Bible and outside of Christianity at that point. Does not mean that they cannot come back in, or God is still not working with them in a significant way, but they're outside of the doctrine, and that's what we have going on here. We have coordinated, intelligent deception, and it's cloaked now lightly, in my opinion, if at all, in a blanket of righteousness, but it's being uncovered, and the Bible does talk about, kind of secrets coming out, things that are hidden are now being revealed, and all that kind of stuff. And really, that's what the truth is. Jesus Christ, when he came on earth, just even if he didn't really say a lot, and wasn't as bold, when someone like that is in the room, and he can read your mind and know pretty much your entire life, past, present, and future, it's awkward, and it's like, if you're lying, or lies support your life, people like that are not going to want him around, just from a very practical perspective. Imagine someone around you once in a while shows up to meetings, or shows up to different, you're at dinner and he's looking at you, or even just for a moment glances at you, and he's just, that he can tell that you're lying. But those lies are necessary for you to get away with whatever. And again, for me too, people who don't love truth ultimately, will not want someone like that around, and so that's in many ways the main reason why he needed to be purged from the earth, because the structures on earth at that time were built on lies and deception, just like they are now. Now they're just much more coordinated and worldwide. But that spirit of Antichrist, anti-God, killing Christ, is here on earth right now. It's more pervasive, it's more technological, and it has greater control of the world now than it did back then. But it's the same spirit, it's the same thing. And so that's why the scriptures are called the scriptures. Script, that's why it has the word script in it, because if it is predictive, which the Bible claims that it is, everything would have to be planned, and so that means that if the outcome is known, that means every word and everything that is said, all the goings on of the world, needs to be scripted, or else people could go off script and change the narrative, and if everybody started calling out the evils of central banking and, refusing to, succumb to this consumer-driven system, debt-based system, we all pulled out our money from the bank accounts right now, even just $100, the whole system would collapse, and then the end couldn't come the way the Bible predicts. And so something else would happen. And so that's why people are not allowed to talk about certain things. And this is God doing this. So I'm just kind of speaking at the sort of theological level here. But everybody's following a script. And so these people that email or approach us or dialogue with us about flat earth and other things, they're not necessarily, I'm not even saying that they're necessarily bad people, like they're going to hurt you or anything like that, or any like that. But what George was doing could actually impact a person's life tangibly. So some of them will go to that extent, but they're just following a script. And so we know this now. And to me, if someone who stays like that follows a script of a few set of points, there ultimately are people that are candidates to take the chip, because they're just a robot. If you have a person who doesn't want to talk about government forcing us to do things, or ultimately having the power to chip people, and they just don't want to talk about it or whatever, even though it's right at our doorstep now, something else is going on, and stuff like that. And so these people are just following a script, and that is very, very telling. And so the verse that I wanted to bring out, to the central verse, is John 8:32. Jesus says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." So now, what's the main truth that we know right now? God exists. And so just by definition, you don't have to go 8 verses down the road. If God exists, he's the author of everything. God is the God of all the gods of all the gods. So he is the creator of everything. And so that means that, the most important truth that we know now is that we are just instruments of God's creativity. He is controlling everything. And so that is the main truth that will set us free, because we know now that everything that's happening is from God. The entire script, the entire narrative is his. And so now we know that. A lot of people on earth know this now. And so we're free. I'm free to talk about anything now. I'm free. Like, I don't have any sort of mental blocks. I'm not against talking about, sins in my own life and things that I've done, because I know that a significant number of them were out of my control from the beginning. Like, I was already in a position to sin. I was born into a Hindu family who prays to gods that have like 8 arms and like elephants and stuff. Like, I'm not even trying to be overly rude, but that's ridiculous, and like, I had no choice, like, at least from what I could experience growing up. I had to pray to those gods as a young kid because that's what I was told to do, and that was our routine. And so I just from that I was set up to fail, and stuff. And so there's many others that I was involved in, but a lot of them, again, were just like, it's an environment. Like, I was set up to fail, like we all were on many things. The ones that are going to be our fault are when we know better and we purposely, take advantage of somebody else or do something that we full well know that it's wrong to do that. And so those are fall on my plate, and all that. And so that's where we definitely need mercy from God, because especially in these days now, when I just said, we know that God exists, and I'm expected to behave like better. And so obviously I don't always do that, but I try. And so, that's the truth. And that's why a lot of these people, again, it's not that they're good or bad necessarily. Some are overtly bad and will take advantage of you if you let them, and we shouldn't in these days, if we can control it. They're not free, because they're not free to talk about everything. They're not allowed to. Like, my parents are not like bad people, but I can sense in their brain when I bring up God or anything in the world that's of seriousness, like serious on the serious level, they're not allowed to talk about it. They'll just leave. They'll leave the room. They'll just go and, oh, you're thinking too much, or just nothing we can do about it, and then they'll just go away. And it's like, it's not even that they're trying to hurt me in that moment. They're just not allowed to talk about it, and God has created them to follow the script for their life, because they are just a character in his movie. We, those who have the truth and know now that God is the author of this whole thing, the flat earth, the narrative, all the storylines, all the things that are going on, God is the author of this. There is a spirit that is pulling the strings, as hard as that is to believe. And so we're free now, and the Bible does state, obviously, in many, many places, that just because we're free and we're given truth doesn't mean that we go use it as a license for evil. So that's not obviously what I'm recommending, but we're free, like, mentally. Our minds are free. We, those who have this truth and it manifests and becomes real with its last expression in the mark of the beast, we are the most open-minded people, because I will talk about anything, and like I want to talk about everything, the evils on earth and how they're reflected in myself, and how they've affected me and made me into this person that I am today. And then we cry out to God that hopefully he will redeem those experiences and use them for something else besides just our slave drudgery 8-to-5 job that we may or may not even have right now, with the way the economy's going. And it's not funny. It's just funny how obvious it is. And a lot of people aren't talking about it, in particular the quote unquote leaders on the truth side and the opposition to truth side. It's the same thing. And so that's even more confirmation for me that something else is going on, when even a lot of the truthers will not talk about things that are, again, blatantly obvious, like right in front of us. And it's not even really a debate anymore. So something else is going on, and that something else is the fact that everybody has to follow a script, or else the end times could not be predicted and happen the way that, in my opinion, they're prophesied to in the Bible. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.